President Trump is warning Iran that every U.S. soldier death will be avenged as he weighs the next steps in the war following a 10th consecutive night of strikes.
Our chief foreign correspondent, Trey Yingst, joins us live now from Tel Aviv. Trey.
Yeah, hey guys, good morning. Another heavy night of U.S. strikes against Iran. This was the 10th consecutive night of strikes aimed at degrading Iran's ability to threaten vessels in the Strait of Hormuz. U.S. Central Command released a statement saying since early May, CENTCOM forces have helped to facilitate the transit of approximately 900 commercial vessels and 450 million barrels of crude oil. They went on to say American forces remain postured and prepared to hold Iran accountable for unwarranted aggression towards civilian mariners seeking to freely and openly transit the strait. Early this morning, Iran attacked another tanker off the coast of Oman, forcing the crew to evacuate the vessel, according to maritime tracking groups. This does come after President Trump issued a new warning to the regime about killing American forces in the Middle East. The commander-in-chief said, quote, "Every time Iran kills an American soldier, they will pay for that killing many times over." Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson was asked this week about the possibility of U.S. forces entering Iran. This was his response.
They will face the consequences. I believe there are people in those very areas, and they are not few in number, who are counting the moments until they can welcome them.
The comments come as the Wall Street Journal reports that Iran moved nuclear centrifuges into Pickaxe Mountain, an underground facility next to the Natanz nuclear site. The report, based on Israeli intelligence, is the latest to focus on this site. President Trump indicated last week to Fox News he is considering new strikes against the facility. We're also tracking developments with the Houthis in Yemen. This is one of Iran's largest proxies. And according to initial reports, the Houthis say they are implementing a naval blockade against Saudi Arabia, possibly expanding this broader Middle East conflict. Guys?
Trey Yingst live for us this morning. Trey, thank you. Let's bring in former NSC Chief of Staff under President Trump, Alex Gray. Alex, my concern is that we can continue to bomb their command centers, their launch sites, their air defenses. But if they continue to have an endless, cheap and replenishable supply of drones, we're just going in circles, Alex.
Well, Todd, I think there's a huge challenge there, obviously. But the key thing at the moment that we're facing is the reality that just as President Trump always says in U.S. politics that he's a counterpuncher, right? If the opponent goes and says something about him, he hits back. He's even more of a counterpuncher in global politics. And the Iranians have consistently now targeted American soldiers as far afield as Jordan. They're targeting American bases. The president's going to hit back, and he's going to hit back hard. And I agree with you on the drones. That's something that tactically we're going to have to target with a precision, and we're going to have to make sure that we take away that capacity. But as long as the Iranians are going to keep going after U.S. bases and U.S. personnel in the region, I have no doubt the president's going to hit them, and he's going to hit them hard.
It's important that we remember those who lost their lives, their names. Private Isabella Gonzalez, 19 years old. First Lieutenant Tyler James Feehan, 25 years old. Those were the two American soldiers killed in the attack in Jordan over the weekend. May God pray and take care of their families during this horrific time. But retired General Keith Kellogg says the time for airstrikes alone is now over, Alex, and he wants troops on the ground to take certain strategic targets. Do you agree?
Look, I love General Kellogg, but I think that right now the American people are interested in trying to find a way to protect the men and women who are over there, to protect our assets in the region, but to bring this conflict to the type of conclusion that the president and the vice president were looking for when they signed the MOU that Iran has not honored. So I think the goal here is to use our air and our naval assets to bring this conflict to a conclusion that serves our interests and allows us to move on to other priorities. I think going with boots on the ground, with all due respect to the great General Kellogg, I think that's not where the American people want to go, and I don't know that that's in the interests of the United States right now.
The Financial Times is reporting the Trump administration is once again considering regime change via an internal uprising. Do you think it's time for that?
look, the Iranian people, this is ultimately their fight. And the Iranian people for years have been under the thumb of this murderous regime. And the only way, ultimately, the final, the solution to this 47-year conflict is for the Iranian people to rise up and to reclaim their country. And to the extent that the United States can help facilitate that, that's the ultimate way that this is going to be resolved once and for all, is to give the Iranian people the freedom that they deserve. If there's a way for the U.S. to help make that a reality, that's certainly in our long-term interest to do so.
Quickly, before we let you go, one defense expert from Cato telling the New York Post that we don't have enough weapons for a prolonged war, which is unfathomable to me, considering, our defense spending and our military might. Pentagon pushing back on that. Alex, quickly, about 20 seconds. Where does the truth lie?
It's probably somewhere in the middle, Todd. Look, we have consistently under-resourced our munitions, the high-end weapons that we use in conflicts like this. We don't spend nearly enough of that huge budget on those munitions. We need more of them. We need them for deterrence reasons in the Indo-Pacific, and we need them in places like the Middle East as well. So the truth is probably somewhere in the middle.
Alex, great insight this morning. We appreciate it, sir. Thank you.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.